Citadel fucking contrast paints are here! Ooh. Clearly, you lot have been watching too much stuff from other channels talking about how brilliant contrast paints are. I'm not going to completely disagree. There's some uses for them, sure. But let's break the hype train, Dread style. So, first of all, what even are Citadel contrast paints? Well, I'll tell you. I've tried them out and I can tell you, and I'm sure you've probably seen it on a few other channels already. They are basically an ink or a tint that is in a sort of a gel type medium. Nobody knows what this magical medium is, but I'm quite sure it's pretty much the same as what's in there. So whoever wants to analyse that or whatever, do it. But it's basically a more slippery medium than your average medium. So that's basically what it is. And because it's so slippery, it allows the heavy pigments of these inks to slip into the recesses and into all the dark cracks and leave the high areas a little bit more clear. So basically, it's a heavy pigment in an ink. So it has uses and it has drawbacks. So one of the first drawbacks, everybody else has already pointed out, is if you try to do big flat surfaces, because the gel isn't strong enough to pull all of the ink away from that flat surface in an even way, so it leaves crappy drying patches and stuff. It just doesn't look good. So I experienced that on my test day on the Saturday when these launched. I went to my local hobby store, which is called Dungeons and Donuts, which is a bloody great name, isn't it? They actually do great donuts in the shape of Cookie Monster and all of that sort of good stuff, you know. They do all sorts of crazy ones, like Pokemon ones and all of that, you know. They don't do an Orc one though. I don't know what's wrong with them. They ought to sort that out. I'll be in there more often if they did Orky donuts. Little hint there, guys. Come on, Ronan, get on with it. But anyway, I went down there and Ronan and the guys had laid out a bunch of contrast paints, or two or three of each of them, I think, and rows of the new bigger beakies, and they had done them in grey and white, grey and white, grey and white, the new two primers. Now, those two primers I have something to say about right away, and I'm going to demonstrate it when we go cameras down. I've bought the Gracie R primer. I didn't buy the white one because I didn't particularly like it. I don't ever think GW do white particularly well, although that is the best white spray they've ever done. I'm not faulting them on it, it's a good one. I just didn't need it because I've got lots of off-white sprays myself that are very good, and I know they're very good because I've used them for a long time. But the Gracie R, I've been using auto grey primer and stuff like that, so I thought, yeah, sod it, I'll buy that because I need it for the purposes of testing for you guys. So I went and I used the Gracie R primer at the same time and in the same environment here in soggy, spongy Ireland. I used the exact same place to spray and the same time of day to spray some models zenithally, and also with the Gracie R to do some tests for you. And what I did find is very interesting. The Gracie R is very smooth. I didn't get any bubbling, no patching, no pooling. It went on really smooth and really nice, didn't speckle. Whereas the ones that I used, which were the Montana Gold, which I always recommend to people, they are very good, but it is a very windy, damp, crappy day here in Ireland today, believe it or not. Being the middle of June, it's actually been pissing with rain most of the day, windy as hell. I had to go into the back of the barn where the wind wasn't affecting me as much, and I did my spray in there. But the zenithally highlighted models, they did receive a bit of speckling, and the Gracie R didn't. So I will say that them primers are good. But the contrast paints are a big and ah, because there are other products out there that will do the same thing better with a higher quantity for the same price, or for a lesser price even. So we're going to have a little look at those, because I also have the FW inks by Dalaroni, and I also have the Scale Colour, Scale 75 ones. I've got the Ink Tense range as well, so we'll have a little test against them because they work in a very similar way, but they're really finely ground pigments and they're really, really good. Whereas this stuff, I was really excited to use it, I'm not gonna lie, but when I sat down, I found them and ah. So some are better than others. So for example, the Nazdreg Yellow, when I put that on, that was a brown for a start. It's not really a yellow, it's like a beer brown, you know, it's like golden brown sort of colour. People could use it for a non-metallic gold, but I didn't like the colour. So instead, yellow-wise, I actually bought the Iyanden Yellow because that was, of all of the paints I tested, the one that I felt was the best. It must be that they've really, really finely ground the yellow pigments in this compared to some of the others, which, you know, the pigments weren't as finely ground, you could tell that. This one behaved very well. So I'm going to show you guys a little play around with that because I seem to really like that when I tried it in store at least. It looked good against both the white and the grey primer as well. So that was a nice one. I liked that a lot. Also, I bought some greens, right? So I bought the Plague Bearer Flesh and the Militarum Green. Both of them natural greens. I've tested out the Plague Bearer Flesh on an Orc skin that I had zenithally highlighted. I liked it, but I didn't love it. So it certainly wouldn't replace any of my usual methods, but I'll show you that and you can judge for yourself. And also Militarum Green, again, not really my dig for skin, but it could be good for other uses. Nice to have them, nice to be able to show you guys how they work. Also, I picked up the Aeronautica Blue, which I thought was one of the other better colours, even though I wouldn't usually use such a bright colour. I thought it'd be good for plasma weapons and stuff like that. Also picked up Snakebite Leather because of the old school name and because it's a brown, and I've got lots and lots of brown ink, so I use a lot of brown. And Black Templar, which is not black really, and if you was to use it twice over, you're gonna completely ruin the effect. So, but it's good for those things that you don't really want black, but you kind of want looking kind of dark, you know what I mean? So I'll show you. But what I found when I used these in the store, I did a little bit of a test with a few models. So I tried a few different techniques and stuff. I tried feathering with them and stuff like that. That's no good. I tried laying it on thinly, straight from the pot. That leaves streaks. So when it dries, you're going to have horrible streaks, which you're going to want to get rid of. But the only way to get rid of it is to start again. So if you apply it the way they say you should, quite liberally, quite thick, then it's a very heavy pigment in a gel medium, and that gel is allowing that heavy pigment to slide into the recesses, but it's also allowing it to slide around the model. So if you turn your model around, you're going to end up with that pigment running down into places you didn't want it. So when it goes over the line of something you didn't want, you're going to have to tidy that up with a pot of the same undercoat that you use. So when you buy the spray undercoat, make sure you also buy a little pot of the paint as well, because you're going to need it. Because anywhere you go over the line, you've just tinted. So if you was looking to make a blue shirt with yellow arms, and you painted the blue and you spilled over a little bit, and then you started painting the yellow, you're going to end up with areas of green where the two tints have overlaid, and you can still, because these are a tint and they do allow some of the white to show or the grey to show from underneath, you're also getting the blue under the yellow, which is giving you the green. So for a beginner, I don't understand why this is being sold as a beginner's save all paint system at all, because it requires you to be able to paint in the lines quite well. And if you don't, and even if you do, like I say, and you use the paint the way it's most effective, then you really need to watch to not let it spill down, even if you're not going to move it around. If you're just going to sit it down on its base, gravity's going to pull that down. You're going to want a piece of block paper just to soak up bits as they soak down on the model, in case they run onto something you don't want them to. So not actually all that user friendly. I can imagine a lot of users getting very frustrated unless they're looking to one colour coat something. That's fine, but if you're looking to have a few different colours on a model, you're going to have a few problems with this, I feel. I personally think that this would have been better sold as a technical contrast paint, because it does require some technical know-how, and it is better, I believe, used with the medium and thin to a ratio of about 3:1 as much more of a tint, as I will show you. So let's stop talking all the waffle about it and let's have a little look, shall we? Right guys, let's have a little look at how these contrast paints work. But before we do, just want to say thank you to Des, my mate, who just called in. He works setting up stages for bands and then gave me this, a guitar plec from Noel Gallagher of Oasis fame. And he was the first person actually to call into my gaff while I'm recording and not interrupt my recording. He waited at the window patiently, waving his arms about until I pushed the stop button. So thank you, Des. You're a legend, mate. Thank you very much. Right, so as you see here, oh blimey, drop him. Got one fella. I don't know what these are from the Blackstone Fortress. So this guy's been done with the Gracie R primer, and it's nice and smooth, as you can see. It's very nice. No speckling. I've got one here that I zenithally highlighted. Now this one has been zenithally highlighted with 4 colours actually, to tell the truth. So it's had a dark brown, then a slightly lighter brown, then a mid light brown, and then from above a cream white. So I just wanted to see how these contrast paints compare on one done with the proper Wraithbone and one done with Zenithal highlighting, just so you can see. Okay, so we're going to do that right now. Let's have a go. I've also got a couple of other testers here. These are also from Blackstone Fortress. I've got the Eldar lady, or Yanari, or whatever you call them now. But yeah, I thought I'd give that maybe a paint because she's got a long cape and stuff like that, so it could be good for testing some of the colours. In the palettes here, we have the new Blood Angels Red contrast in this far one here. Then we have FW Ink by Dalaroni in the second chamber. And in the last chamber, we've got Scale Colour Ink Tense Red. And then just behind them, I've given them an equal measure of medium, which you won't be able to see there, for when we come to mixing them, just to show you how they behave differently. Okay, so let's crack on. So let's take the Gracie R model first. So we'll go with the straight on out of the pot. See how that looks. Let's just do that down to one arm, shall we? Can you focus? There we are. It's very, very thick. I forgot how thick this was since using it, because I've been using it with the thinner already. You only need a cheap old brush for this. Just any old crappy brush, like a GW brush would do just fine. Right, let's get some in that hand. Make sure we've got plenty there. It's going to run down there, but yeah. That arm has been done with the Blood Angels Red straight on. Now we're going to have to give it a chance to dry. Now then, let's just try the other arm just out of pure curiosity. I haven't tried this already. I usually would always thin everything, but let's just try the FW Ink straight out the pot as well. So let's give that on the other arm. Are we focused? No, there we are, focused. Very difficult to get a camera to want to focus when you're doing this. Okay, this is a much more solid colour. So yeah, it's not going to run to the recesses in the same way. It will just give a solid coverage because it doesn't have that medium. Let's get the focus. Come on. There we are. Okay, so just give a more solid coat. It's not going to sink into the recesses and give a darker tint like that. In order to get the same result, you'd probably want to put a darker wash over the top of that then.
like a brown or a sepia or something like that. But to get it to behave like that straight away with the one coat, you're going to want to mix it. So let me just try it with a little bit of the thinners, not the thinners, the medium there. Just get some of that on the brush. Try that somewhere else, see if that lays in over the face, say. Yeah. See, that was no exacting recipe there at all. But using the contrast medium and other inks is allowing that FW ink to do pretty much the same thing. I would want to pull that, untidy that up. Click that up, yeah. But yeah, that's an FW ink using the using the contrast medium, whereas on that arm there is it without the contrast medium, and there is the contrast paint. I personally like the contrast paint itself, even if it's mixed with a little bit of the thinner. So let me just show you the ink tense paint first. Actually, let me just show you that, because this is a really nice one as well. I really like this.
Another really great range for thinning. So we'll do this leg here. Just slosh it on. Come back to you in a second.
Right. Right, that's the FW ink, ink tensity, just sloshed on straight out the bottle. So it does do a similar thing, you see. It's running into the recesses and stuff. There is no special magical anything going on with this GW contrast. Let me tell you, it's not doing anything more than any other ink or anything else. It's just the medium. So if you really like the effect, just buy the medium and add it to your other paints or your other inks or tints, and have a while of a time. I'm now going to show you the Blood Angels red contrast with some added medium, because I think that is the best way for it to be used.
Really sorry about my croaky throat.
Let's mix some of that in there. Boom, 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 boom. So that's basically a 1:3 ratio there. So I'll put 3 parts of medium down to the 1 part of paint I just picked up.
Oh, blimey.
Right, so onto this guy's chest with the thinned Blood Angels. We'll just fill in all the gaps around there too. Sod it. Let's just cover him up. Let's get him going. Down that leg too a little bit too. Right, so now straight away you can see that's an improvement on the arm. It's just finding them recesses much easier and leaving, in most parts, the high places alone. Okay, so I'm going to spray this guy back to grey and give him a complete overgo with just so he's not a mix and match like he is at the moment. So we'll start again with this guy. But before we do, let's just have a look at the Zenithal guy and give him a little go in. I think we'll go with the thinned. I'll probably have to add a little bit more. Hang on. Okay, so Mr. Zenithal, we're going to get a slapping. Good slapping of this. Good sloshing. Oh, I'm going to need to mix some more, I think. Boom, over Zenithal. Let's have a look. What can we see? Not too bad. We'll give it a little while to dry and we'll see how that looks after that. Okay guys, so now I'm going to show you the Black Templar, because I've got this wonderful figure here from Ramshackle Games of Death playing the electric keyboardy guitar thing. So like, I just thought it was so cool that it'd be cool to try out the Black Templar on the cloth. So let's give it a whirl straight out of the bottle, shall we? Right, so I don't think I should pull it around too much more than that. I've got a heavy coat on. Let it do its thing. We'll see. We'll leave that to dry. So, here you see I've used the Iandan yellow with some contrast medium, and I've given a good covering over this Eldar character. Now I've tried to keep it as neat as I can. It did go on the face, of course, in trying to get into under the hood. It's not going to shade properly in the places that you want, like under a hood like that. It's nowhere near going to be dark enough. And also, look, it hasn't started to dry yet properly, but it's already leaving horrible staining where you don't want it. That's not a cool effect at all. So I'm going to clean that off so I can repaint that, because I am not wanting that stain on my model. So yeah, foul, don't like it, not in that respect anyway. It's not good on cloth. So yeah, organic stuff maybe only. I tried it again on another piece of cloth, which is Deathy here. He's got the Black Templar, which is more of a grey. That looks kind of cool. That's not so bad. But then it's probably due to the way that this model has so many creases and stuff. Definitely wouldn't leave it at that either though. So yeah, it's not a one trick pony. It's not going to sort you out. It's not going to fix things for you. Here I've put some over just standard Gracie R on this horror here. Now that's still drying, and then there's one with the Zenithal. So I personally do still much prefer Zenithal, because shadows are where they're supposed to be. You know, shadows are not where they're supposed to be on this system. All they're doing is allowing that ink to run. So places like under a foot, for example, it's not going to deliberately or automatically shade the underside of a foot darker. So it's still going to be very light under the foot. Whereas obviously with Zenithal highlighting, it's dark under the foot where it should be. So yeah, I'm sure you guys would agree that other than the graininess, this fella here that's been Zenithal highlighted over the guy that's just with the Gracie R is superior with just the one coat. But still, I wouldn't just stop at just the one coat, so I don't really think this painting system is for me. This skin also has been done with Plague Bearer flesh over Zenithal highlighting. So, I mean, it looks alright. It's not too bad. It's just, I've used a brownish Zenithal highlight and the green tinge down in the gaps I'm not green all that excited about. So it was just a test, as this piece is a test piece, although I do need to strip him because he's a nicely posed boy. I just need to strip him and repaint him. But yeah, anyway, just wanted to play with it. Thought I'd show you. Here is the Plague Bearer green on the left, straight over the grey, and that's straight out the bottle. And same is true of this Militarum green as well, straight over the grey, straight out the bottle. So that's how they look for Orc skin if you was interested. I did do one Zenithal, but the Zenithal spray didn't come out very well, so I can't say that that looks so good. That was with the Plague Bearer flesh over a sort of brown. So yeah, cool variation. Hopefully you guys can see some of that. Yeah, there we are, a bit better. So yeah, there's some things that you can play around with, and you know, I'm sure you'll come up with something for yourselves.
So guys, we've seen how these paints flow, and we've seen the sort of coverage they've got. But for all the other brush lickers out there, I'm sure you're all curious as to know what they even taste like. So let's have a little go. Ooh. Oh, I'd stick to the old ones. Oh, that's bitter. Oh. Don't worry, I didn't die. I'm still here. So, contrast. One little hint or tip for you. If you're going and buying some, don't drink it. But when you look at the label, you'll see, as you remember, if you look at GW paints, on the label, it's usually got a swatch of the colour. On the contrast paints, their swatch has two colours. One of them, obviously, as you've probably worked out already, corresponds to with the white undercoat. The other corresponds with the grey undercoat. So you can see how it should look with both of those. So that's just a little helpful hint for you. If you go buying in contrast, just check out the little colour swatch thingy-majiggy there. So that kind of wraps up my thoughts. I don't really have much else to say about them. I think they're overhyped, like a lot of things with Games Workshop. They try and really get people hyped, and it works. You know, people go for it, hook, line, and sinker. But yeah, there are better paints out there. They're still useful, but they're not going to change up my game in any way. I don't think they're going to change the game for beginners either. So that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys, and please like the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel and share it if you enjoyed the content and you want to share it around with your friends and let them know how grumpy I can be. Go right ahead. Thanks for watching.